morning, everybody. Thank y'all for being here so early. Just wanted to give you a quick morning update on where we are, just for situational awareness. Director Stallings obviously is here at the State Operations Center. Will Langston, who's the state meteorologist. As you can see, we've got all of our other state partners in the room, local FEMA folks, and then we've been in constant contact with the National Weather Center in Peachtree City. Just to go through what actions that I've taken so far. As you know, we stood up the State Operations Center Monday. We issued the state of emergency on Tuesday, and we continue to coordinate with all state governments and obviously our local governments as well as our federal partners. Specifically, we've been in constant contact with our folks down in Glenn and Camden County. We'll continue to monitor the rest of the Georgia coast as the storm evolves. As Director Stallings talked about yesterday, we also have our teams deploying across parts of Georgia to be a little closer if we need to respond. And then obviously General Cardin is on point with the National Guard should we need help here in Georgia. And I also know that he's coordinating with our friends down in Florida as well. Just a couple other things. The express lanes on I-75 have been turned all northbound, and we'll continue to keep those open northbound for any folks that may be coming into Georgia from Florida as they evacuate and look for safer ground to move to. We're not seeing any traffic issues right now, maybe 100 cars more an hour. We're also working with the Department of Economic Development to make sure all our welcome centers and visitor centers around the state are prepared to answer any questions that our guests may have that are coming north through our state. And we obviously have all of our state resources, state parks, working with the hotel industry and a lot of other folks to be prepared for any visitors that we may have or have already gotten. And I know our local partners are working on that as well. To really help those in need that are coming north. We do have a lot of people on the coast of Georgia and throughout the state right now on fall break, which we appreciate. So we want to continue to communicate to them that we are prepared, we're ready, we're continuing to watch. There's no need for panic in the state of Georgia right now. We're continuing to monitor where the storm's going to actually go when it comes across Florida, and certainly keeping them in our thoughts and prayers. And we'll continue to update people as the storm moves and we see, any change in the path at all and what we're looking like here in Georgia over the next couple of days, specifically on Friday. I would just remind Georgians to stay weather alert, especially if you're in the southern half of the state. We think there's going to be certainly a lot of rain and not a sustaining high winds, but certainly gust in the 40 to 50 miles an hour, and Will can answer any specific questions on what we may see. But that can cause trees falling down, power lines, and so people just need to be aware of that if they're in their homes or if they're out traveling, and just be thinking about those kind of things. We also have our private sector partners and our utility folks that we're talking to. They are geared up and ready to go to help here in Georgia and potentially move south to Florida if needed. So again, I would just ask everybody to continue to consult GEMA's website and also just stay in tune to all the trusted media partners that we have this morning and throughout the state for updates, and we'll make sure we're sharing information as well. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Director Stallings to see if he's got anything else for us.
Thank you, Governor. We are still monitoring the storm. As you saw overnight, there was a change in its path. So as we talked about yesterday, the storm is ever evolving. We're not going to take that for granted that we're out of the woods. We're going to continue to monitor all aspects of the storm. Will Langston, our state meteorologist, is here for some more technical questions, but as he was describing, with it moving it a little further off the coast, it's going to cut down on our tornado possibility, but we're still going to have those strong storm surges and things like that. So it's important to just stay local, focus on your local news outlets, your trusted sources. We're going to get those warnings out as fast as we can as we get those to keep you alert. So as you've seen the SOCs up and activated, we're going to be here through the duration.
Any questions?
Governor, what is the expectation in terms of the bulk of Floridians coming up and possibly eventually folks from Savannah coming to the Atlanta area.
And if there's a really bad storm surge that does major damage to Fort Myers, being up here for a while.
Well, we're certainly thinking about those things. I mean, we're well prepared to do that. We've got great facilities in the state. We've got great state parks. We've got a great relationship with Hotel Association and other lodging folks, so we feel very well prepared to be able to do that. It's really hard to answer those questions, I think, right now. I mean, one of the things that Director Stallings and that I talked to Director Stallings and Will about was just the storm surge, and it's really going to depend too when the storm hits, what the tides look like, how that may affect places like St. Mary's or St. Simon's or perhaps Savannah, and then the aftermath of what we're seeing in Florida and where people are going. There may be people going south in Florida and not north. There may be some of both, and so we'll just continue to monitor the traffic. We're obviously staying in touch with all the state and federal partners on this, as well as doing that with the National Guard folks in Florida. And so we'll just continue to monitor that. I think we'll know a lot more as we get throughout the day today and early tomorrow morning.
Governor, is there any talk of possible evacuations of low-lying areas, St. Simon's, Tybee, Jekyll, anything?
Yeah,
like
we haven't gone there yet. I think we're in great shape where we are right now. I mean, if we have to start moving on things like that, we'll do that very quickly to let people know. But, Will, I don't know what your thoughts are on the potential storm surge yet, but nobody's mentioned that to me in the team here yet.
Will, could you address that?
Absolutely. So,
Name and title, too.
I'm Will Langston. I'm the state meteorologist for Georgia Emergency Management Agency. We're expecting right now 3 to 5 feet of storm surge up the entire Georgia coast. That could start as soon as tomorrow and last through maybe Saturday morning. So Thursday and Friday are really going to be those days. 3 to 5 feet is similar to what we saw during Hurricane Irma. So areas that did experience storm surge during Hurricane Irma will likely see similar impacts in those storm surge prone areas. The high tides when they come in, that will be most likely when some of the highest inundation values occur.
Has this been a tricky storm to trace?
It has been. It's been evolving, changing a lot. The National Hurricane Center has been on top of it. The National Weather Service has been on top of it as well as the media is, obviously. We're not out of the woods yet. This storm is nearing Category 5 intensity. That's very rare to make landfalls in the United States as a Category 5. And so obviously our thoughts are with Florida, hopefully it will weaken before it moves into Georgia. But it's really looking like a significant rain and wind event for Georgia as well, particularly along the coast.
Do we think it would stay, once it crosses the peninsula, it will stay a tropical storm
Yes, sir.
depression when it hits us?
Yes, sir. It depends on how far over the water it goes. If obviously more land interaction would be a weakening storm, but right now it's forecast to still be a tropical storm as it moves off the coast and back into Georgia.
No danger of re-strengthening.
Correct. It may not weaken as quickly, but it certainly is not expected to re-strengthen.
Are any state facilities being prepared as temporary facilities in case of need?
As far as for sheltering?
Shelters.
Yes, sir. So we have a great relationship with our technical college system of Georgia. Through COVID, we learned a lot of lessons, the ability to transition to virtual for classes, freeing up a space. It was ironic that we're standing outside of our mass care and sheltering room right now. We've got a team in here, Red Cross is on hand with us as well. So we're looking at all those possibilities should we need to go down that avenue.
Tell me about your conversations with your hotel partners, housing partners, and what are you telling them when people could start coming up, and also talk about turning around 16?
So there's right now no appetite for contraflow on 16. That's just not something that we anticipate. It's not going to be a massive landfall event where it's a tropical, not that a tropical storm is not terrible, but we're not in the categories that we think would need to do an evacuation. Our hotels and the motel industry, it's terrible for those in Florida, but it's good for our industry. It's going to bring folks northbound. We've got the capacity, we've got the sheltering space, and so it's going to be good for us as far as we've got the space, so we're going to be able to handle that.
Yeah, and economic development.
Yes, sir.
Just coordinating all that, because they got all the contacts.
Governor,
Great.
can you speak to any impacts on the agriculture industry at this point, given the new trajectory?
Well, I think it's a little bit too early to tell. I mean, obviously, you know, a lot of the construction folks are worried about a lot of rain that slows down, you know, their work. But I think the ag industry really just, it's going to depend on who's doing what and where at this time of the year. So I know Commissioner Black is in touch with them, but right now the volume of rain we're looking at, I think, is manageable if you're not on the coast. So for our ag partners, I think it will be okay, but that's something also we just don't know yet. I know a lot of the pecan farmers are worried about high winds and having green nuts on the tree right now, and you know, that's just Mother Nature, and we'll just have to see how that plays out, but we'll certainly be there to help them if needed.
One more?
Governor, you just took a tour. Your thoughts on what you see here?
Well, unfortunately, Georgia's had a lot of experience in dealing with storms, and then certainly civil unrest, the pandemic, and a lot of other things. So I'm just so proud of the team that we have here, the coordination that we have with not only our state partners, but also with our local partners at the county and city level across the state, and certainly with the federal government. And we have everybody you can imagine in this building right now. And regardless of what happens, it's good for us all to be here. It continues our coordination and communication, whether it's DOT, State Patrol, Department of Agriculture, you know, the National Guard's here, you know, all our weather partners, and certainly the big team at GEMA that's coordinating with all the local emergency management folks. So we're ready to go, and Georgians just should know that we're ready to respond if needed, and we'll do it very quickly.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Governor.
Thank